quilty friend, it's Carolina Moore, your favorite sewing and quilting YouTuber, and today we are going to make half square triangles using the triangle paper from Laundry Basket Quilts. If you've never used triangle paper to make half square triangles, you are going to want to watch this video. Let's jump right into it. Now on the 2nd of every month, I've been sharing a different way to make half square triangles all year long. So this is October. This is the 10th different method that I have that I'm sharing with you for making half square triangles. And yes, there are that many and so many more ways to make half square triangles. Triangle paper is one of my personal favorites for making lots of half square triangles at once and making them accurately. So I'm going to show you what this looks like. There's different kinds of triangle paper. We also have triangles on a roll. This is a pad of triangle paper. And inside the pad, we have our instructions and we have our paper. So I'm going to pull out the paper, and the paper it's thinner than copy paper. It's a little thicker than tissue paper, but it's a nice thin paper that's going to be easy to tear out. And then we're going to grab our fabric. In this case, we're using solid fabrics, so putting them together is automatically right sides together. But if you're using any other fabric that has a print, you'll want to make sure and double check that you are doing right sides together. Then you're going to take your paper and put it on top. Now the instructions said to cut a 9-inch square of each fabric, which I did. And now we can go ahead and add a couple pins to secure the layers. Now you'll see there's some margins here along the edges of the paper. So if this shifts a little bit and it's a little bit off, we have a little bit of grace room. Now I think 2 pins is probably going to be enough, but you could use more if you want. Now we're going to sew on these dotted lines. So it says sew here and sew here, and then we're going to sew a square all the way around this one, and then sew, I guess it's not a square, it's a rectangle, all the way around this one. So it's going to end up being 4 seams, 1 with a bunch of pivots, and 2 that are just straight across. I'm going to bring it over to the machine. Now when we're sewing on paper, whether that's triangle paper or for foundation paper piecing, lowering that stitch length 2 dots, so that's down to a 2 on my machine, will help. It's going to give more stitches per inch, and that's going to be more perforations, making it easier to tear. It's also going to be more stitches per inch, which means a stronger seam, which is going to resist our pulling when we tear this out. So let's go ahead and stitch through this real quick. Now a shorter stitch length does take longer to stitch because you're going up and down many more times in the same space, so it doesn't advance as quickly. But that's okay. We're sacrificing a faster speed for a more accurate half square triangle when we're done. All right, those are my 2 straight lines done. Let's go ahead and do one of these big rectangles, starting, I'm going to start off the edge a little bit. Now triangle paper comes in all different sizes. This is 2-inch finish half square triangle paper, but you can get it in just about any size triangle that you need to make, especially smaller ones. Anything under like 3.5 inches will be really easy to find. And depending on the size paper it is and the size of the triangles, your sewing path may be different. So you just want to look at the paper that you're using and follow the sewing path that it tells you. All right, we've made it all the way around. We're going to trim off those threads, and now we can cut this. Now we're ready to cut this on the solid lines. I like to start with the outside edges just to clean it all up, and that'll result in fewer extra cuts later. Once you've cut them into squares, you can cut them down this middle line into half square triangles. There really is no wrong order to cut these as long as they're cut on the solid lines, not those dotted lines, because those are the ones you stitched, but they're cut on the solid lines into these half square triangle pieces, then you're doing perfect. All right, we have our little triangle pieces. And as you can see, they'll open up into our half square triangles, but we still have paper on here. So we can go ahead and tear out this paper, and it tears out fairly easily. But if you want it to be even easier to tear it out, you can use the foundation piecing water pen. Now, if you haven't heard of the foundation piecing water pen, this is a tool that I invented a couple years back to make it easier to tear the papers out of foundation paper piecing, and it also works amazing for half square triangles. It also works great for water soluble stabilizer for machine embroidery. I'm not a machine embroidery person, but if you are, then this could be a great tool for you. So just took off the cap, and I'm unscrewing the top from the bottom, and I'm filling it with water. Now, this happens to be water from Carlsbad here locally to me in San Diego, but you can use any water you want. I mean, not sparkling water, but tap water, bottled water, whatever regular water you have that's local to you. Oh, and I made a mess, but that's okay. It's just water. So I'm going to go ahead and close this up. And then since I already made a mess, I'm just going to dip it in my water here to just get it started here on the tip. And now I have a damp foundation piecing water pen. Now I can take this over to my paper, and depending on what kind of triangle paper you have, this is fairly thin and it's fairly porous. You can feel it. So I might just go like once or twice across it. You can give it a second to soak in, and if you're going to give it a second to soak in, go ahead and work on some of the other ones and get them ready to go as you give it a second to just soak in. And this is that first one we did. And watch. The paper tears out so easily. You remember how I struggled with that first one? These ones, they just come right out. And that's because the water in the foundation piecing water pen just dampens those fibers and makes them easier to tear. And just that seam line gets wet. It doesn't get wet enough to actually dampen the fabric. So here's one that doesn't have that foundation, or that hasn't had the water on it from the foundation piecing water pen. And you can see it tears out rougher. Now for this one, we did shorten the stitch length, but often when I know I'm going to use my foundation piecing water pen, I don't even shorten the stitch length when I'm stitching through paper, because this weakens up those paper fibers enough that a regular stitch length is fine, and I don't need that extra strength or the extra perforations of doing the extra stitches, which means that my paper piecing and my triangle paper goes way faster because I don't have to use that shorter stitch length. Once we have the papers out of all of our half square triangles, we're going to press them all towards the dark. We will have these dog ears that we're going to clip off, but then we can start putting our block together. All right, we have taken out the triangle paper and pressed everything towards the dark, and now I'm just clipping off these dog ears. All right, we need to make 2 9-unit units, or 2 quarters of our block that are made out of 9 of these half square triangles. So I've just gone ahead and layered 2 on top of each other. We're going to sew into pairs, and then we're going to add a third, and then we're going to press one direction, other direction, one direction, and then we're going to sew these rows together to make a 9 patch, and that 9 patch, each of those 9 patches is going to be 1/4 of our block. So let's go ahead and sew this. By the way, if you want a more in-depth version of making this block, go to yesterday's video and I'll have that for you. But today, because we just did this block yesterday, I'm just doing a super quick sew through to let you know how it goes together. All right, there we go. Another block complete. What did you think about using triangle paper, this kind of triangle paper, and the foundation piecing water pens to take out the paper? Let me know down in the comments. Have you used triangle paper before? Are you excited about this technique? If you haven't already given this video a thumbs up, please do. And make sure you're subscribed to this channel. We have lots more quilty fun headed your way, and I don't want you to miss out on any of it. Friends, that's it for today. I'll see you right here real soon. Bye for now.